Today, we're diving deep into something many of us have in our pockets, but may not truly appreciate: the humble 1-cent coin. Often dismissed as pennies, these tiny little discs have an interesting history, a fascinating journey through time, and in some rare cases, can be worth a small fortune. You'll be surprised at just how much impact a single cent can have. Let's take a closer look at the 1-cent coin and discover its legacy, value, and importance in the world of currency. First, let's start at the very beginning. The 1-cent coin, or penny as it's often called, has a long and rich history that dates all the way back to the founding of the United States. The very first U.S. 1-cent coin was issued in 1793, just a few years after the country gained its independence. Designed by the famous engraver Robert Scott, the original design featured a Lady Liberty, her flowing hair symbolizing freedom, with the words Liberty and 50 cents or $0.25. Imagine, they were once worth much more than today. This first penny was made out of copper, and it was slightly larger than the ones we use today. At that time, copper was abundant and inexpensive, which made it an ideal material for minting these low-denomination coins. But the 1-cent coin wasn't always the small, familiar coin we know today. Over the years, it has undergone numerous changes in design, material, and size. In the mid-1800s, for instance, the composition of the penny shifted from pure copper to a copper-nickel alloy, and by the late 1800s, a more detailed design came into play, including the famous Indian head design in 1859. Throughout the 19th and 20th centuries, there were numerous redesigns of the 1-cent coin, each one reflecting the cultural and political moments of the time. In 1909, the first ever depiction of Abraham Lincoln appeared on the 1-cent coin, designed by Victor David Brenner. This marked the beginning of what we see today as the modern penny. Over time, the penny underwent minor adjustments, including changes in the material used. During World War II, for example, there was a shortage of copper, so the U.S. Mint produced pennies using steel, a period known as the steel penny era. Now, let's talk about the value of the 1-cent coin in modern times. The penny, as we know, has very little purchasing power today. A penny in the U.S. doesn't buy much, certainly not a candy bar or a cup of coffee, but historically, the penny held a lot more weight in terms of its value. When the penny was first minted, it could buy a whole lot more. In 1793, the penny had significant purchasing power. Back then, a penny could actually buy more than you'd expect, like a loaf of bread or a small meal. Of course, inflation has taken a toll over the years. As the country grew and the value of money changed, the 1-cent coin's ability to buy things became drastically diminished. The penny's purchasing power has fallen by 90% over the course of the 20th century alone. So, why do we still use the 1-cent coin if it doesn't hold much value anymore? Well, it turns out that even though its monetary value is low, the penny continues to serve an important role in U.S. currency, as it's a reminder of the nation's past and a part of our long-standing tradition of coinage. Now, here's where things get really interesting. While most pennies are worth, well, just 1 cent, some are worth much more. In fact, certain rare pennies can fetch thousands, even millions, at auctions. Take, for example, the famous 1943 copper penny. During World War II, the U.S. Mint switched to making pennies out of steel to conserve copper for the war effort. However, a few copper pennies from 1943 were accidentally struck, and these are now some of the most valuable coins in existence. One of these rare 1943 copper pennies sold at auction for over $1.7 million. That's right. *1 penny worth over $1 million. So, next time you dig through your pocket change, make sure you double-check your pennies. There could be a gold mine waiting for you. And then, there's the 1909 SVDB penny. It's one of the most sought-after pennies by collectors. The S refers to the San Francisco Mint, and VDB is the designer's initials, Victor David Brenner. Less than 500,000 of these pennies were made, and they can be worth anywhere between $500 and $2,000, depending on their condition. Another famous rare penny is the 1877 Indian head cent, which was minted in limited quantities. If you find one of these in good condition, you might be looking at a coin worth up to $10,000 or more. Now that we know about the rich history of the penny and the amazing value of rare specimens, let's talk about the future. You may have heard debates about whether the US should continue minting the penny. As inflation increases and the cost to produce pennies continues to rise, there's been some discussion about whether it's time to phase out the 1-cent coin entirely. Interestingly, it costs the US Mint more than 1 cent to produce each penny. As of the last few years, it costs around 2.1 cents to make a single penny, which makes it inefficient in terms of production. And with more people turning to digital payments and card transactions, the need for physical coins is decreasing. Despite these challenges, many people still love the penny and its historical significance. There's a nostalgia attached to it, and it continues to be a vital part of our coinage system, especially for low-cost transactions like those in vending machines or toll booths. So, while the penny may not buy much today, its rich history, its rarity in certain cases, and its importance in the currency system can still surprise us. Whether you're a coin collector or just someone who occasionally finds themselves with a pile of pennies in their pocket, there's a lot more to this little coin than meets the eye. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the world of the 1-cent coin, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe to our channel for more fascinating facts, and leave us a comment about your favorite coin or any rare pennies you've come across. Thanks for watching, and remember, sometimes it's the smallest things that hold the biggest stories.